Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us for our Monday update, recorded on the 14th of April. We've got a storm on the way this week, a subtropical low dropping down from Vanuatu, and it's going to deepen in the New Zealand area. And at the same time, a very powerful high pressure system will form out to the east. And between the two, a squash zone of very windy weather from the northeast, and then some subtropical rain. So severe weather, very likely this week in the North Island and maybe parts of the Upper South Island. Let's try and make sense of what is going on for Monday. I love this satellite map today. The bright cloud you see here around Canterbury, that is the old nor'wester blowing through, possibly the nor'west arch, as that high cloud bumps over the southern Alps. So that's high level cloud. On the other side, down towards Fiordland, that's the cold front coming on through. So warm weather ahead of it, colder change coming in, especially for tomorrow around the lower South Island. Not so bad around the North Island, but we do have a bit of high cloud to the very north, and that is associated with that developing low pressure system. This one right here. So we've got low pressure north of us, a bit of cloud, not necessarily from that exact low, but there is sort of sinking low pressure just to the north of New Zealand. Bit of an easterly flow, just clipping the very top of the country. Then you've got more of a northeast flow around other parts of the North Island, northwest around the Cook Strait area, that nor'wester we just told you about, and of course by 6 o'clock tonight, in comes the southerly change. So that high cloud you saw gets pushed further northwards and the southerly change comes in, going around a big high pressure zone, and it's that high that will balloon out to the east, merging with this other one in the days ahead. And it's that low to the north, this high to the south. That's where we get the squash zone. So let's make sense of the rainfall to start with. Here is the 7-day rainfall map brought to you by resupply.co.nz. Heaviest rain in the orange shaded areas. So you're talking about 100 to 200 millimetres in those areas, gold to orange. And then you've got the more orange coloured parts here, Bay of Plenty, also west of Nelson around Takaka, Golden Bay. That's where you could be seeing 200 millimetres or more in just the next 4 or 5 days. There may be a couple more showers going into the weekend. That may also be heavy. Further down the west coast, not quite as heavy, but still some heavy rain there. And the areas with the blue, bottom of the scale, a few millimetres coming in. So heavy rain for the north of both of the main islands. Here is lunchtime tomorrow, Tuesday. You can see the low dropping southwards over the top of Port Vila and Vanuatu. It is not a tropical cyclone, but it is developing kind of like one. If it was to stay up there and get a little deeper, it might even become one, but it's dropping southwards and it doesn't really deepen properly until it leaves the tropics. So it's not really a storm at the moment. It's just a low pressure zone, but there is that big high in the southern part of the Tasman Sea, and between these two systems, that easterly wind starts to pick up. So the southerly we've got coming through in the south tonight moves its way up the North Island, but it twists around as the high pressure area balloons in the lower South Island, curving it around as a nor'easter, not a very warm one because the origins are coming out from south of New Zealand. The further north you go, once you're in the top half of the North Island, more of a subtropical wind, and that easterly gradually picks up as we go through the day. A few showers around on Tuesday, but not very much in the way of rain. Now this rain map, the one we just showed you, only sort of shows you lunchtime rainfall for a couple of hours. This one's a little different. It shows the same placement being the middle of the day, Wednesday, but the rainfall is 24 hours of rainfall up to that point. I don't normally use these maps for New Zealand because it often is in that pale blue shading for the whole country, because we do often get a shower or two, but it's not very useful on a day-to-day basis to always have that blue. But when you've got a heavy rain event, you can now clearly see which areas are sort of glowing with the more orange shading coming up around 30, 40, maybe 50 millimetres in some parts of East Cape and Northland, and the very strong winds that are coming in with this storm. And so it's going to create some pretty big seas. Look at this animation. This is 22 hours from 7 o'clock Wednesday morning to Thursday morning. You can see that surge there, and it finishes at 5 o'clock on Thursday morning. You're talking about wave heights here between 5 and 8 metres along that eastern part from Auckland northwards, Great Barrier Island up towards the very far north. Some waves may even go above that, might go above 8 metres. So this is pretty big. Those wave heights taper right off. You can get more information from predictwind.com or just have a look under our marine section on our website. Winds, 6 o'clock Thursday morning, the most damaging winds in the squash zone between low pressure to the west and this ballooning high pressure out to the east. So the squeeze is on. have often seen this map over the past few years, usually produces very strong east to northeast winds that very slowly move down towards Bay of Plenty and Coromandel Peninsula, Waikato, but Northland, Auckland get it first. It's even stronger out to sea. I mean, you're talking 130k winds offshore. Overland could be anywhere between 90 and 120 kilometres an hour at this stage, so power outages, some trees down at the top of the country, and then the further down the country you go, the more those winds kind of taper off, although still a little blustery for those of you in the east. Here is lunchtime Thursday showing again 24-hour rainfall up to 12 noon Thursday. Heavy rain around Northland, Auckland, Coromandel Peninsula, Western Bay of Plenty. Might even be some thundery sort of falls in there. Some of that rain will come down the eastern side and potentially into the upper North Island. I say potentially because not all the computer modelling and data agrees. Have a look on our websites, best way to kind of work out what all these different models say, because this is just one model, one snapshot in time. The forecasts on our website, they update every hour using all of the different reliable modelling around the world. So this rain at the top of the South Island, still a little more of a question mark, but the rain at the top here, along with those big strong winds, moving along northeasterly winds all the way down the country. So if I'm not talking about you very much, Otago, Southland, it's because there's not a lot going on. All of the energy is up here to the north, and obviously this deep low pressure zone out to the west. So as we go into the long weekend, we've got the low out here to the west still hanging around. The big high way out to the east, that is weakened a little bit. And so perhaps some of the winds now easing as it turns more northerly and northwesterly. Still a bit windy in some exposed places. Heaviest rain looks to be Bay of Plenty to East Cape. And again here around the northwestern corner of the South Island. As that low moves in, it also starts to fall apart. Now we go to lunchtime Saturday. This is no longer showing you 24 hours of rainfall, shows you a couple of hours of rainfall around that timestamp, around the middle of the day. This is a clearer way of just sort of seeing your usual kind of showers and where they're most likely to be. If I'd shown you the other map, you just see a lot of blue all over the place. And this does still show a fair bit of blue just for a snapshot, which shows plenty of showers around the North Island, mostly on the western side, and most of the wet weather is around the west coast and the northwest corner of the South Island. So stronger winds, northwesterlies still blowing around the country on Saturday as this high to the east balloons out, goes all the way up into the tropics and all the way down to the Southern Ocean. That's just a massive brick wall slowing down that rainfall. That's why the rainfall totals are so big, and that's why I focus on what I call a squash zone, where most of that wind and rain is halfway between the low and the high. And by the time we get to Easter Sunday, that low's gone. Leftovers are around. There may be a few showers. Both Saturday and Sunday could see some thunderstorms around. You've still got warm weather during the days and instability from that low. But the next big high out to the east here, huge high pressure system. The next one in the Tasman, much smaller, a lot weaker. And our final map goes to Easter Monday. Look at the size of this high. Pretty rare that we get a high as big as this one. That stretches from the Chatham Islands all the way to South America, basically. Some of these areas here, seeing that high pressure zone all the way in to South America. So that is impressive. That is stopping any tropical weather up here from developing, but it keeps this part directly north of New Zealand still vulnerable for low pressure. You can see another one here forming around Samoa towards Tonga, and we've still got another high coming on through on Monday. So at least, as I always say, half of Easter weekend is usually good, the other half is often stormy, and this year appears to be no different. So don't forget to stay up to date with those Met Service warnings and watches. There'll be a number of them issued over the next day or two, and we'll have another update on Tuesday as we try to be a little more fine-tuned about the incoming storm from the subtropics. That's all from me. We'll see you again tomorrow, Tuesday.